It's Tuesday, 29th of July, 25, and I'm going to have another go at talking about the online safety law in the UK. And yeah, because to me it shows everything that's wrong with our electoral system, basically, because they come up with these big, massive bills, big, massive, constipated bills. Then the constipation, they come out with a bill at the end with lots of things changed, and they just get it wrong. They get it wrong anyway, but also they I don't think they understand the internet. I don't think they understand VPN thing. And they've got an idea, but VPNs protect you, so every MP should be using a VPN in all their devices at all times. It'd be very interesting to see how many of them do, on their personal phones. I'm guessing it's pretty low, maybe even almost zero, um, because it encrypts everything. So on a Wi-Fi, whether it's a public Wi-Fi or anything else, even if somebody sniffs your thing, they can't read it if it's encrypted, And VPN protects you from end to end as well, in the sense that they don't have your real address and things like that, your IP address, your raw IP address. So, I mean, this sort of stuff, the politicians just don't understand it. And like I said, they come up with these big, massive bills, big, massive changes. They put child safety in here to do with age verification. And they've also added in stuff to do with free speech, They've bundled it in, all this. And as David Davis says, and I think this as well, like, I don't believe in the party harbour system, but what they should do is just adapt, Just, and first of all, just base it on the things we all agree on, like stuff like violence. I mean, everybody's agreed you don't want people. I mean, that's unlawful anyway, as it is, but, you know, I'm just going to talk about this for a while anyway. Yeah, there's a big fuss today. Even Nolan Jones is saying scrap the safety bill. Like I say, what I think is these big, massive, constipated bills, they just get wrong. The electoral system's wrong. I don't believe in the party hamper system. I believe it should be voting on issues like the Swiss Electoral System. I mean, even for this, like I said, what you could do at the moment is something like a bill like this. MPs could ask their voters to e-vote and say, how do you want me to vote on this? But that's not the way it's done. And also, they especially seem to get it wrong, these things where both sides agree, Labour and Tory, both who will become defunct, in my opinion, basically. But especially when they agree, because there was a thing up in Scotland, say about 2 years ago, where everyone agreed it was an SNP bill for Scotland. Everyone agreed with it, all Labour, most Tories, and then suddenly, because the other problem for them is the internet has matured and the public are taking an interest, whereas in the old days we just used to let them do what they do, but now they're taking an interest. So they were all ready to pass that bill up in Scotland, and then women took a great interest in it, and I don't think they've even got it through yet. So, and Nicola Sturgeon ended up resigning, and then a case got taken to the High Court in Britain, and we had all these cheering Scotswomen coming out when they won it. And I think that's when, once Nicola heard about that High Court, I think she probably thought, my time's over now. You could call that peak wokeness, really. Yeah, so to me, the problem is that politicians are archaic, the system's archaic, and this is just proving it, really. And the ironic thing is, in their personal lives and in most of their public lives, the politicians probably communicate and get their entertainment, etc., from the internet, like we all do, but their brain is based on leafleting, chapping your door, legacy media, getting on Question Time, stuff like that. Even though they personally probably use the internet, they've probably not been in a bank for a decade or two now. Whereas the electoral system, we're nowhere near e-voting. We're lucky. We've got postal voting. Reformers saying they'll maybe take it away from what I heard, or Robert Lowe anyway, who I support, but it's just ridiculous. You've got to be e-voting. Just because some people want to do fraud or they think, we can't hold the rest of us back. It's like all of us not being able to bank. So anyway, just looking at this anyway, what are people saying today? Yeah, because the I had a few other things I wanted to talk about. I'll show you my list first. This is a muddled quick-fire list as well, but this Face ID scan, well, if it's an on and it's guessing your age from your thingy, then personally I think, well, that's okay. So I've got used to that idea. But I thought what was happening was you were going to have to give your personal name. They could identify you. But if it's just an anonymous Face ID scan to get to sites and it predicts your age. I mean, someone who said what's the problem? This is okay. But he said it guessed he was younger. So that could turn out a bad thing for him if he wasn't too old, you know. He might go some places and he can't. It rejects him. But yeah, an on-face ID, I'm getting used to that. So really the messaging has been terrible then. But the messaging always is terrible. Because this sort of thing should be a big news, say a week or two before, you know. It should be everywhere. Anyway, and that's what happened to that bill up in Scotland. Because of the build-up the week or two before, the female voters suddenly realised, hang on, I don't think I like this, you know. Then suddenly SNP and Labour were in trouble, and the bill didn't go through as far as I know. I don't know, but yeah. And my second point is everyone should be using a VPN to protect from hackers. You know, like I say, it encrypts your things because if you're using your raw IP, say on a public Wi-Fi, somebody else on that Wi-Fi can connect and see everything. Whereas when you're encrypted, it turns it into gobbledygook. So even if they could hack you on a public Wi-Fi VPN, they couldn't decode it. I mean, some people probably can, but I mean, 90% of hackers probably couldn't. It doesn't protect you totally, but in most 90% of the way it probably does. Apart from end to end, you know, like if you visit a malware website, then that's you. You're still connected to it, so that's you. You've got the problem. But for people intercepting, you know, sniffing Wi-Fi or whatever, it protects. So everyone should. I'm guessing it would be interesting to see if there was a poll of MPs, how many of you use VPN, and then you could ask the question, how many use VPN all the time? And I'm guessing probably even 80% of them, especially Labour MPs, probably don't use them at all on their personal device, you know, and it's just idiotic, really. And then another thing I wanted to point out, just before the law came in last Friday, my mobile network blocked 18 plus sites. I could still visit them with a VPN if I wanted, but I mean, I'm talking about legal sites here, you know. But now the network doesn't block it, and now, but because they're thinking we won't block these sites anymore. Now it's up to, well, with the raw IP anyway. I mean, I could still use it with a VPN, but what they do now is they've unblocked it, and now it's up to the website, you know, and the website asked for a Face ID, you know, the British site. I can still get by it by VPN, and I hear the politicians there was talk they want to ban VPN. I mean, that's the kind of thing they do in China, you know. But Sarah Champion was mentioned. I don't know. Well, she's mentioned that it was a problem, but really, definitely primary school kids, I would imagine, don't know how to hang me a VPN. They probably do now because of this bill. The school bullies probably told them in the class, "Oh, you do this," but before then, you know, because and like I say, the mobile network blocked plus 18 sites, and now it doesn't. But yeah, probably everybody will start using a VPN, you know, but because people don't want to, they want to keep private and something like plus 18 sites, you can guess what sort of sites, legal ones, I mean, if you're over 18, I mean, I think even betting sites are there plus 18 as well, but yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention, yeah, free speech. This is a big thing, you know, because it's bundled in with everything else. And like I say, this is what they do with these bills here. We can bundle all this in about free speech as well. And I find that ironic that Suella Braverman was involved with this, I think, at some point. Maybe she wasn't, but I think I regard her as a sort of free speech advocate. I mean, I don't agree with free speech totally, but then with certain protest marches she wants banned, you know. And I can't see why those protest votes marches should be banned. Um, I question I question why some people support it, as groupings. But I think a lot of Brits who are fair-minded, that's the way they're seeing it as well. So, you know, and we've seen this in America as well, like some visas are getting cancelled because of they're getting involved in protest things, you know, and that's from uh, the side that's meant to be pro-free speech and is always going on about free speech, but they're banning a lot of stuff to do with that protest, which to me, as fair-minded, I think it's fair enough, you know. And then in the other side of it, the left are the bringers of cancel culture, you know, and they've got one thing in particular. Well, they had two or three, but one in particular that I think shouldn't should be discussed, which they want to cancel totally. I mean, we've had the thing we've had a few like Epping at the moment. I noticed there was no Labour MP turned up in support of the counter protesters, or at these protests. There's not been any SNP or Labour MPs turning up from what I've seen. Maybe Greens, I don't know, but yeah, that's interesting. That it's as if they'd feel that they haven't got the local public on their side or something, But yeah, because there was a march in Glasgow on Saturday, and there was no sign of the SNP from what I saw, or Labour. Um, yeah, yeah, like I say, on the next thing, the way they make bills is archaic, and ironically, now that the internet has matured, the public really are engaged and active in a way they never used to be, and they're not happy, basically, from what I can see, the vibe. Uh, so that's interesting as well, because there was stuff like an X I don't think I should have seen or whatever, but they say they're going to start using estimates to guess your age, so that's good, as long as you don't need to give your personal information, I think, if there's ways around it, because like Keir Starmer, he's went the other way with people from 16 to 18, because they've not, because you need voter ID or whatever in England, I think, anyway, but they're wanting, he says a bank card will do, because he knows that most of them won't have a passport or driving licence proof like that, photo ID proof. And so, I mean, that's what I've always thought. Could they not just use a bank card, places like that? Yeah, so he's erring the other way on that, and now he's erring the wrong way on this. But this was Boris Johnson that brought this in, and Nadine Dorris and all that. So they created it. I mean, we do need, like I say, if I understand it, if you can do a non-face IDs and that, then I might say, okay then. And my main point is the electoral system needs totally reformed. The way we create bills, I'm not even sure we should have bills, like I say. Maybe we should just do the things we agree on first, get that out of the way, and then you can go on the next. And then something like Face ID, we could bring that up, a non-Face ID. Say, what do you think of this? I think most people, once they understand it, they would be okay with it, It's like, so, yeah. And we need direct democracy like the Switzerland. I've been talking for 5 or 10 minutes and I don't know where I was. Yeah, so it's very polarised at the moment. Um, yeah, I don't feel like talking again. It'll take me a while for my brain to. But I was just saying, I think the way they make bills is archaic and disastrous. But when they get a charity seems to have big influence in particular, I think it's a bad idea because it's like when Labour in Wales were bringing in a 20 mile an hour zone thing. I mean, the two things I'd say about that: why not make it 0 mile an hour and then nobody will be harmed? Um, and also, every politician in favour of that should have a speedometer checker on their car, and we should all be able to see any time they go over a speed limit anywhere, because 20 mile an hour is very, very hard to go at, and I know there's a place between Fort William and Mallaig where the town's get 20 mile an hour, Any time I've done that through there, I've had a massive queue behind me. Most of them probably the locals, you know. Uh, so these these things are well meaning, but they usually end up a bit of disaster, really. I mean, yeah, just I wondered how influential. First of all, I'll go to see how what happened to Molly. She was 14 and she died by self-harm in November 2017. The coroner's inquest concluded that her death was a result of depression and the negative effects of. So, like the dad's, he's focusing on internet really. But personally, you've got to ask, would it have made any difference really? It's a very difficult thing to him. Or would even this thing stop her accessing what she wanted to? Apparently, she was looking at a lot of self-harm stuff, etc. I mean, I'm all in favour of these places getting closed down, and they usually do when people find out. But is it going to stop people going that way? Because when you think of Sinead O'Connor's son, he was in a under 24/7 supervision at the time in a hospital, although he managed to sneak out at some point. And you know, when people are thinking that way and they're maybe clinically depressed, I don't know if there's anything. Try and stop it as much as you can, but I don't think putting cars at 0 mile per hour or 5 mile per hour is the answer, really. I think we've got to be realistic about these things. Uh, so he's taken it all out on the internet. She had binge periods of images, video clips and text. Um, but most of us aren't visiting those sort of sites. Even people that age. Um, and what was she visiting? Was it Facebook? I don't think she should be on Facebook or whatever. I don't know. It's easy for coroners and judges to say things, but it doesn't mean it's right. It's correct. So this is one of the big influences, and if Dad's saying that he doesn't think that the current online law is enough, apparently. Uh, so how influence? Well, I'll ask about the dad first. Yeah. The Online Safety Act is not done and needs strengthening, so he's not happy with it at the moment. Um, he says it's sticking plasters. A stronger and more effective Online Safety Act will finally change the dial, etc. Concerns about lack of significant change. Nothing of significance has changed. Well, that's because the laws really come into thing today, but it has changed because somebody's been locked up for 18 months, wrongly, in my opinion. Quite a few people have been locked up wrongly, in my opinion, in the sort of content that Molly saw. Well, that's fair enough. Go after that content. Go after that every day. I'm fine with that. It's still easily available online. But why? Why is it? I mean, the problem with something like that is that people are so dedicated to the issue. Lack of government. I mean, it's like you could ban people from getting out into the street, and that would stop anything happening in the streets. You could bring in curfews. Lack of government movement and trust issues. He has expressed anger and losing trust in the government, says, and now he's getting losing trust in them, even though they've bent over backwards for him to reinforce the act. I mean, personally, I don't know enough, but I think really you've got to lessen the influence. I mean, the public are insisting on that at the moment. I think Ofcom's COVID practice are not robust enough, so Ofcom's a disaster in my opinion. So really, if Ofcom are involved, it's really going to be a disaster. I think they are involved now. I mean, we really are becoming like China, really. And criticism of tech companies. He accuses tech firms of sitting on their hands and choosing inaction over saving young lives, etc. I mean, you could say that any day. Like cars going at 20 mile an hour can knock people over. Why not make it zero? Uh, he's worried about ominous things such as Meta's plans to axe third-party fact-checking. Yeah, the fact-checking thing was a disaster, really. Uh, he's against bans for regulation. It doesn't support outright bans on phones or social media. So there we go, phones. He's wanting to ban phones. Or it's talking about or social media. This risks a slew of unintended consequences. So maybe he's wanting it to go at 1 mile an hour, really, right? The car. Call for urgent action to act decisively. I mean, they're going to get it along. People enjoy the internet too much, and I think they're willing to take a risk. Most people aren't looking for that sort of stuff anyway, but rather than be like China, really, basically focus on platform responsibility. The device is not the issue; it's a persistent. It's the actual platforms, but you know, like I say, my mobile network just blocked these sites before, although you could still get through in a VPN. Yeah, I'm just looking how influential it was. The foundation they set up, they did. They exerted their influence, direct personal testimony. Uh, um, he gave evidence to parliamentary committees at the draft online. See, this is the thing. They do this draft thing and nobody knows what's going on. Basically, the public don't know. You should do it the other way around. You should be, hey, we're going to be changing this law. What do you think we should do? First of all, driving the duty of care principle placed on the tech companies, meaning they have a legal responsibility to keep users, especially children, safe. Um, Highlighting algorithmic harms, um, the role of algorithms and recommendation systems. I mean, who recommends stuff like that, though? I don't think any of the big like Meta and then would really be recommending stuff like that. Really, or maybe somebody's telling you or whatever. Lobbying for amendments and stronger measures. Yeah, they're going to just keep going that way, aren't they? Like research and evidence. Well, you can do that as long all you want, really. Public awareness and support. Well, have you got support? Yeah. I mean, the problem is now the public are more interested in we've got the internet to think that. I mean, on the internet, a lot of the YouTubers are getting far more than question time, BBC question time figures, or you know, even something like trigonometry, which I don't always watch, or very rarely watch actually. Now I've sort of went through that phase, um, but other ones. I mean, I watch Left and Right. I mean, I watch Owen Jones quite a lot, Nevada Media. So yeah, what else has been said today? Yeah, I think I've looked at this already. What are people saying today, July 29th? Arguments against the Act. Free speech concerns. Well, that's my thing, mate. Ironically, as I say, like Nigel's there, he's a big supporter of Donald. Donald is nulling people's visas because they're involved in protest and something Donald doesn't like. That's not very free speech, is it? It's as bad as you can almost get. I think there's maybe it's going to start looking at trying to lock people up with that viewpoint, and so total hypocrites. But on this thing, I think they're on the right side. It's a dystopian infringement of free speech, etc., etc. And I think even the left, some on the left will agree. I don't know, but I'll need to check. Well, Owen Jones does, so that's one. He's probably thinking of the free speech aspect, ineffectiveness of Childs, pointing to the surge in VPN usage. CL of Reform stated the Act did absolutely nothing to protect children and instead sends all of these onto VPNs. Much closer to the dark web. I mean, I don't know about the dark web, again, like they say, it might end up that way because we end up like China, where the real dangers lie, etc. But yeah, it probably does. Probably kids didn't bother about it before, but now the school bully will probably tell them. I do wonder if this is the likes of some of the politicians of their teenage daughters if they access plus 18 sites, they would need to know how to use a VPN. Who would tell them? Well, they'd need to show an interest in it to do that, because their mobile network's probably blocked the sites. And I'm guessing it's probably quite high. It'd be interesting. You do see polls saying how many 14-year-olds have seen plus 18 sites. I would like to know why. Why have they? And do they want them blocked from it as well? Is it? I would like to know these sort of things. Because personally, I'm quite happy for them to be blocked from it totally. As long as it doesn't affect adults, Burden on smaller sites of forum, as I said, yeah, probably a nightmare. Privacy and security risks. Yeah, like they've said, yeah, I've went through this before, haven't I? Yeah. Okay, on to the next thing. Yeah, just a point on VPNs. Do VPNs protect you from hackers? Yes, VPNs can significantly enhance your protection against certain types of hackers and cyber threats, but they're not selling. Yeah, you're still at risk from the other connection, basically, because if that's a malware, you still get malware even if it's. But the good thing about it is it hides your IP, basically, your IP address. Your IP address, it's not like your address totally, but they could even, once they've got your IP address, they can even check and see if you can get it from other websites that maybe give your IP. I mean, very few give your IP now, but I mean, most of the stuff that you do on the internet now is encrypted anyway by the browser, because most sites are HTTPS. The S is the important bit now, but I still think Wi-Fi sniffers, if you're on a public thing, they can still maybe connect onto you. I don't know. Anyway, here's how VPNs help protect you. Encryption, yeah, this is primary. We should all be using encryption. When you connect to a VPN, it creates an encrypted tunnel for your internet traffic. Yeah, I mean, a lot of browsers do this anyway, and banking info, etc. I mean, once you're hacked, they still see all that anyway, as you know probably. This is particularly crucial when using unsecured networks like public Wi-Fi hotspots. Personally, I don't think you should ever use a Wi-Fi hotspot. Really, you should be using the unlimited mobile data SIM and just using the mobile data, really. Everyone should be on unlimited, I think, really, or, I don't know, 200 gigabytes, whatever, yeah, would be enough for you to be unlimited in reality. IP address masking. A VPN hides your real IP address. So there you go. Like I say, I think everyone should be using a VPN. If you're in a poll of MPs, especially Labour MPs, in my opinion, probably be quite low, really, on their personal device. So, direct targeting. Hackers often scan for vulnerable devices based on IP addresses, masking yours makes you less visible. And I know even of a VPN, I get Surfshark that changes your IP every 5 minutes, which I think sounds really good to me. I wish they all done it. I don't think most of them do, but that sounds really good to me. I don't know whether it is in practice necessary, but it changes your IP every 5 minutes, which seems good to me. Protection on public Wi-Fi, yeah, as it said. Yeah, because if you go on a public Wi-Fi, you're just trusting how good that router is in terms of security. A lot of times it probably isn't, a hotel, etc. Hiding your browser activity from your ISP. Yeah, your ISP can't see what you're doing either. I mean, some advanced features. Many have other things like a kill switch. If your VPN connection drops, it instantly kills this thing. Yeah, that's a good thing to have as well. I wondered what that kill switch was. I thought it was if you thought you were hacked, you could just press the kill button. But it looks as if your VPN drops, then and you're on your raw IP, it'll just automatically stop your connection, and then you'll know something's wrong, and you'll go back onto your VPN. So that's good. And a lot of them have added malware blockers nowadays. What VPNs don't protect you from? Yeah, malware and viruses, you'll still get them from point to point. If you're on a dodgy site, you're going to get, or even if you click on a dodgy email or whatever. Phishing and social engineering, yeah, that's the same thing, really. Weak passwords, yeah, that's a different thing. If they can get your password, yeah, they're in. Compromised devices, yeah, if your device is hacked, everyone can still see it anyway, or they can. And a pure VPN, if the VPN provider's not very good, yeah, and a lot of them aren't, apparently, I think. I mean, most generally are, most of the big names are, but yeah, I just wondered whether the ministers knew about VPN. They did to an extent, but they probably don't know enough. And I'm guessing, like, Sarah Champion's made a big fuss about it. I'd be really interested to know if she uses a VPN. When did she start using it? Or did she not use it at all on her personal devices? Which I probably suspect. Um, yeah, they've got probably an expert commentary, but they probably still don't understand it. I've seen debates where obviously they don't understand stuff. I mean, I think they're really out of touch, especially Labour under Keir Starmer are really out of touch with the public. In the old days that didn't matter so much because we didn't have the internet, but now people are taking an interest, active interest, and the pressure on them from people, the public on the internet. I mean, I think there's a bill about this, a petition bill, and it's got 400,000 signatures. That petition bill that the government brought in about 5 years ago, I think they were thinking most probably won't get to 100,000, which is where they need to do a debate on it. And the public won't be interested anyway. But now it's getting used, and especially by Robert Lowe, which I totally agree with, because that's how you do direct democracy. People are bothered about issues. They're not bothered about party hampers, which is the old-fashioned way we've done it. So they're really getting caught, really, like a rabbit in the headlights, really. Parliamentary debates and amendments, yeah, but they could still talk a lot of rubbish. Labour MPs, the champion, specifically raised concerns and proposed an amendment that would have required the government to report on the impact of VPNs on the Act's effectiveness. This shows that the issue was actively discussed, etc. I mean, she's probably a disaster. Ofcom's acknowledgement. Yeah, they're saying they acknowledge it. I mean, you can adapt it, but I don't know whether they will. They've acknowledged the VPNs are a bypass. They also state the platforms must not host content encouraging VPN use to circumvent age checks. Well, a lot of people already, YouTubers already promote VPNs, and rightly so in my opinion, to give you security. So I wonder what will happen with that really, but they're talking about they don't want Facebook and stuff, I suppose, to maybe VPNs or even plus 18 sites, but they're being ridiculous. The Ofcom has said that while dedicated teenagers might use VPNs, much of the harmful content exposure for children isn't from actively seeking it out. So there we go. This is what I've been saying, but from it being served up in their feeds. Yeah, well, so they've not been actively seeking it out. So there you go. This suggests they view VPNs as one of several challenges, rather than the sole point of failure. International precedent. Other countries have faced similar challenges. I think they're banned in China, VPNs, that's exactly where we're going. Policymakers in the UK. Yeah. Why they act? I mean, you would end up, we're all going to have to learn how to use Tor and things like that, it would be absolutely ridiculous. Why the act proceeded despite this knowledge. Complexity of the ban. Yeah, so, fair enough. Focus on platform responsibility. Yep. A step in the right direction. Yeah, but you need to keep adapting. Parental responsibility in education. Exactly. Yeah. The parents should be to blame. I mean, see in the case, I don't really want to mention it more. Did the dad know that she was visiting these sites? Or, I mean, I'm guessing he did, but like I say, Sinead O'Connor's son was he was 20, I think. He was in a 24/7 video surveillance hospital unit, Um, in conclusion, the government are certainly aware of VPNs, etc. Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah, this is how I started the thing. Is Labour banning VPN? There's no outright ban on VPNs in the UK at the moment. Well, there's increasing discussion and concern from Labour Party. I'd pick Labour in particular because they usually get these things wrong, and they're in government as well. Yeah, Here's a breakdown. The Online Safety Act and age verification came into force July 25, 2025. On adult sites, etc. Age verification. Yeah, as I say, if they're doing it on non-facial ID, that's not so bad. You need to promote that, etc. VPNs as a workaround. Yeah, there was a significant surge in VPN downloads and usage in the UK. This is because VPNs allow users to mask their location. I mean, even if you're using a VPN in Britain, I think you'll need to use one that says the server's based outside Britain. I think if you use one that's got a server in Britain, you'll still have to use the Face ID. Because I've actually had that when I've visited an 18 plus site, legal 18 plus site, using a server from the USA, VPN, and it's asked me for Face ID because that state uses Face ID. I think it's Texas or whatever, So, um, Labour's concerned, but that's easy enough to do if you know what you're doing. But a lot of people don't. Apparently, Proton VPN is the most popular app this week on Google Play or whatever. I don't know. Labour's concerns. Yes, Sarah Champion again. Well, she'll lose her seat in the next election anyway, which might be sooner rather than 2029. Blah blah blah. No immediate ban, but potential for further action. Further action would focus on regulating VPN service providers and finding ways to make it harder to circumvent age verification rather than an outright ban, given that VPNs are widely used by businesses and individuals for legitimate purposes like remote work and privacy. Like I say, everyone should be using a VPN to protect you from hackers. So she maybe doesn't understand, and neither did the government. Practical difficulties of a ban. I would imagine Keir Starmer's all his devices are encrypted. I don't know how, VPN, I don't know how they do it, but in effect they'll be using the same sort of idea as a VPN or whatever. Maybe there's point to point like Snapchat and WhatsApp or whatever, but I don't know. In summary, VPNs are currently legal in the UK. Labour, blah blah blah. Though a complete ban appears unlikely. Well, it's impossible really. What MPs have spoke about it this week? Here's a summary of the people. The Labour Party spokesperson has been quoted this week in response to the Reform UK's pledge to scrap the Online Safety Act. They stated that repealing the Act would scrap vital protections for young people online and recklessly open the floodgates to kids being exposed to extreme digital content, etc. We're not directly about VPNs. This reiterates Labour's commitment to the Act's protective aims. Sarah Champion has been a prominent Labour voice on this issue in the past. So Sarah Champion seems to be a champion of the cause, but I'm guessing she's going to lose her seat next time to Reform or an independent. And yeah, she probably has made loads of speeches about how she's speaking on behalf of her constituents and that, but they probably can't wait to vote her out because of the party hamper system in a lot of ways, which is why she got in the first place. So she hasn't made any specific comments this week, but it's worth noting her past actions. She previously tabled an amendment, supported by Labour's frontbench, that would require a report on the effect of VPN use on Ofcom's ability to enforce the Online Safety Act. This indicates a strong interest within Labour to address the VPN loophole. Keir Starmer and the Labour Party broadly support the Online Safety Act. Well, Simon put it through. It was Tories that created it, but they saw it through. And they seem to protect blah blah. Their general position would therefore align with concerns, etc. Other prominent voices this week. Technology Minister Peter Quayle, he's actually Labour, has been very vocal this week defending the Online Safety Act. He's the one that's been brought out to defend it, accusing Reform leader Nigel Farage of being on the side of, there we go, see, for pledging this to scrap the Act. Well, Quayle is not Well, he is actually. His strong defence of the Act highlights the government's commitment to the same. So they're getting it wrong. They've decided, Keir said, right, you have to go out, you have to fiercely defend it. Here's maybe some key points you can use. It's probably totally backfired on him. It might be his own views as well, we don't know. But yeah, it's just Keir, he always gets it wrong, really. So, and Zia of Reform, he's pledged that Reform UK would scrap the Online Safety Act. So this is really an easy thing for him to say because ordinary members of the public, well, if they visit an 18 plus site, they probably don't even want to give their facial ID, you know. So even though it's anonymous, but they probably don't understand that. So I think inherently they're not going to be like it very much. So the farmer's seen this as low-hanging fruit, really. Yeah, he mentioned the VPN, etc. Nigel Farage has also backed the pledge to scrap the Act, echoing concerns about free speech, exactly, and ineffectiveness of age verification, etc. Ofcom, yeah, has also commented, acknowledging that while some determined teenagers may use VPNs, the Act is still an important step and that parental controls can also play a role. Well, absolutely, that should be the main point of control, really. This also stated that platforms must not host content encouraging VPN use to circumvent age checks. Yeah, so, yeah, there we go. And that's generally all I've got to say about it at the moment. Like I say, my main point generally is that the politicians are so out of touch, and it's because of our electoral system. We've got the party hamper, first past the post system. It needs to be direct democracy as much as possible, you know. These big constipated bills, you need to get them down into the little things. You need to adapt. You can ask people straight away. MPs could ask their constituents to e-vote, their voter constituents to e-vote. How should I vote on this issue, on this thing that are changing, etc. So the ball's not there really, you know. Instead they'll probably come up with something really draconic or whatever. Or maybe not because there's so much public backlash. Because unfortunately for them, the internet's matured and the public are taking an interest and they know how to make their voice heard now. Rupert Lowe's got a big thing going on about the petitions because he realises that these Parliament petitions could really be useful, and a lot of his things are probably going to get 100k plus. They're going to get debated in Parliament and stuff. So it's basically because the party first past the post system is useless. This is the root of the problem, really. Okay, that's all for now. Bye bye, everybody. Bye bye.